Your phone is emitting a trackable radio signal, and this is particularly blatant with iPhones. Someone can actually drive by your house and see if you're home, or if anyone is home. Someone can even see which part of the house you're in. In fact, someone would be able to see what part of the house everyone is in. You can see how dangerous this is, right? A burglar's dream. If you leave your house, you can be followed, but not at a close distance. How about 100 to 200 meters? Can you tell you're being followed if it's that far? If you walk inside a building, someone could actually track your movements throughout the building. Planning on visiting a floor you're not authorized to go into? Well, someone who knows how to do this tracking will be on you in an instant. What about contact tracing? Yes, this can easily be used by some app to record who was near you or identify who you're with in real time. I can think of so many nefarious uses. Wait, this is not all about you being threatened. For a change, this knowledge can actually put you on the offense. How about this? You think someone is following you? Easy enough. You can actually see who's around you as identified by these same radio signals. Is someone constantly present even as you move around a large area? That's suspicious. But now we can tell. You can identify their device and their exact location. Maybe he's hiding behind that building over there. You notice this person is always just around the corner, or the car is just slightly out of view, or maybe someone stuck an AirTag on you. So knowing about this can give you offensive information. Turn the tables on the bad guys. I call this counter surveillance. What makes this possible is that all of you are emitting a radio signal that used to be hidden, but it is not hidden any longer. As expected, many hackers have figured it all out, and they now use this in ways one never thought about before. And if you know about this technology and understand it, you end up on top. You can use it for counter surveillance to protect yourself. You become the tracker. Those who do not know, well, you can only end up as the victim. As they say, if you know, you know. If you want to be in the elite crowd, who knows? Stay right there. Fortunately for us, phones already have the software built in to listen for BLE. Every Bluetooth chip starting from Bluetooth 4.2 can transmit and receive a BLE signal. That's every device in the last decade at least. For example, BLE is used by the Signal app to enable moving the app from one device to another. And as I already mentioned, it is the same technology used by AirDrop and other NFC technologies. For this reason, it is actually easier to just build an app to listen to BLE directly on the phone. The problem, of course, is that the emission is a data leak. Now, this data leak is already dangerous because Apple and Google can use it as a supplementary location tracker to do contact tracing. As I've already explained in a multitude of videos, Google and Apple specifically do 24/7 location tracking. So they always know where you are, and there's really no way to turn this off. This is how Find My Phone works, and it's also used by Apple to remind you where your car is parked. The original technology used for location tracking is based on Wi-Fi triangulation, which is plenty accurate. But at its most accurate, it can pinpoint your location within 6 feet at best, and likely further away if you're indoors. But BLE tracking is different. The reason it is more accurate is that the data from the signal also can be used to compute a heading. So there's not even a need to triangulate, as the exact heading is known. Triangulation as a concept just means that multiple devices have to supply data to arrive at a particular location data point. With BLE, there's no need. So you can get an accurate location with one phone nearby. With 24 phones nearby, well, we're getting into super accurate mode. You can probably use it as a ruler, just like Apple is able to do. This means a BLE signal is very effective for things like contact tracing. While someone would have to guess if you're near a particular person, with a BLE signal, it would be obvious if you're having a conversation with someone. Thus, if we have another pandemic crisis, the government of California can go identify us individually from big tech and lock us up if we don't conform. California big tech companies, of course, were first to implement contact tracing apps, though now this new technology is on steroids. Depending on the device, the MAC address reported by BLE may or may not be permanent. It depends on the device. iPhones will keep a MAC address for 15 minutes. That's their BLE implementation. Some devices like appliances and earphones retain a permanent MAC address. While Apple may be happy with randomizing a MAC address, unfortunately that solution does not grant you any safety. And that's because inherent in the BLE signal is the location. So I know who's at my neighbor's house because the location specifies it. I can just use the MAC address to have some temporary identifier, but the location is the main identifier. I also know the model of the device. That is obvious from the MAC address, even if it is randomized, because MAC addresses identify a model. So I know my neighbor has an iPhone 14, an iPhone 15, an Apple TV, and an AirTag. I can also see who's walking in front of my house and their walking path. Oh, and I see my neighbors are not currently home. I will know if those devices move since I can track them individually. Knowing the device model and the location gives me a ton of information. Tracking BLE. To track BLE means you have to load some app from the F-Droid store. This means you have to install F-Droid on your Android phone, and if F-Droid is not already on your phone, you can download it from fdroid.org. If you have a de-Googled phone of some sort, like a Brax 2, Brax 3, or a de-Googled Pixel, then you already have F-Droid pre-installed. If you're on an iPhone, well, unfortunately, you can only be a victim as there's no solution for you. You can only do counter surveillance from an Android phone. And understand this part. If you're on a production Google Android, then you're also emitting a BLE signal, so you can also be tracked. But if you're on a de-Googled phone, then you have no signal. You are invisible. There are several apps that can do BLE tracking, but today I'm going to focus on one which seems to give the most data. It is called BLE Radar. The BLE radar is more powerful as it accepts all BLE in the airwaves regardless of source and does not filter it like some of the other apps like AirGuard, so I will focus on using this. It can be a bit complex to use, but that is the nature of the devices being tracked. By the way, BLE Radar is also available on the Google Play Store, so it can be installed even without F-Droid. Using BLE Radar. I'm just going to get you going with the basics here of this app. There are many advanced features that's going to take a long time to explain, but you will appreciate what the basics can do. Before starting BLE Radar, go to the settings on Android and delete the history if you have used this before. Then give it permissions to use locations even in the background. This app is from F-Droid and is open source, so there is really nothing to be concerned about. You can always do a long tap on the app icon and select Force Stop when you're not using it. This way it's not using up battery. Now start the app and note the options at the bottom, which are Device List, Radar Profiles, Journal, and Settings. First, go to Settings. Be aware that by default, some phones like the Brax 3 may default to a fused location instead of GPS position. I would use GPS position to get the most accurate data on the positions of your targets, but realize that indoors GPS does not work, so the location of your targets will work better outdoors. Indoors, the locations are to be considered as estimates. I would also select Deep Analysis here, as this will try to identify the device a little better for you. To use this app, go to the main display, which is the device list, and then hit the scan button near the bottom. This will begin to scan for BLE signals around you. Unlike the other apps I've seen, this does not filter, so it really looks for any device emitting BLE. But that could even be a wireless headphone, an Apple TV, a Ring camera, a Samsung washer and dryer. First thing I want you to observe as you watch it settle down and get data is that the devices of interest to you are the ones with a specified distance. And those are really the only active devices you need to focus on. If they don't have an active distance shown, then they're not actively being pinged or have disappeared from the list. The first problem you will find is the clutter. There are too many devices and it is hard to analyze. Most devices, particularly iPhones, will change MAC addresses every 15 minutes or so. This means they appear on the list for 15 minutes at the maximum, and then they disappear from the list and a new one appears. You may get frustrated with this, but this is why you need to focus on a couple of markers. First, the distance, and then you click on the device and see the location. The location is the true ID. If there's no distance, then they're not active, so you can ignore them. Now, if you look closely, the app identifies a MAC address type, and they show three colors with labels: RPA, red, RST, yellow, and STP, green. The ones in green are static MAC addresses, which means they are fixed devices like Apple TV and can be ignored. The ones that are most elusive are the red ones, and they are actually your target. They are the ones that are likely to be iPhones or AirTag. Often the model of the iPhone will be known and will be displayed to you. There are some advanced features here, but I'll just hit a few basic tips. First, you want to remove the clutter. The best way to do that is to isolate devices that you know about, like your own trackers or your own appliances. The way to remove them is to assign those items a tag name. I would also tag items with a green STP icon, which, as I said, are fixed devices like TVs. For example, use a tag name of safe or home. Then you add a filter at the top using the Add Filter button. And as I do here, I click on Not and then tag name and I pick Home. So Not Home. So now all items marked as home will not display. Then I can focus on foreign devices. Second, make a tag for suspicious devices like the ones in red. So my tag name here is Target. I flagged the target devices so I can easily see them. But again, the main thing to focus on is the distance. If no distance is specified, ignore them. Are they moving? Are they in the same spot? Within a 15-minute range while the MAC address is active, you can see the location of the device, so you know your neighbor has an iPhone 14 and an iPhone 15. If the Apple device is past 15 minutes of detection, ignore it, and it is likely the new one above it. And the distance will disappear anyway, so that's your clue. The unmarked red ones are likely AirTags. Now watch the moving ones. After a while, if you keep this going, you will see a pattern of devices around you, and what you're looking for is something out of pattern within the distance specified. At least from indoors, I seem to be able to scan around 50 meters around me, which is approximately 160 feet, and that is scanning from my indoors to my neighbor's indoors. Outside, you should get a wider range. The specs say up to 200 meters. So again, watch the characteristics of the devices here. The MAC addresses are only valid for 15 minutes, so you don't have a permanent identifier, but you will know where each device is located and potentially the type of device. There's enough to see if someone is hiding around a corner or sitting in a car. At least from my experience, I'm spotting more iPhones than any other device, and these are the ones broadcasting the most, so they're the most vulnerable. In the US, 57% of households have iPhones, so I wouldn't be surprised if some areas would be 80% iPhone based. Except for my household, all my relatives are on iPhones. This app has more advanced features that you can experiment with. The author's English isn't particularly good, so the explanations aren't obvious, but there are options to see if a device is always following you, at least within a 15-minute interval. If you're on the road, that would be suspicious, as it would indicate that someone popped an AirTag on your car or someone is physically following you. For a better viewing experience, always set the phone to allow rotation so that you can look at the map in landscape mode and have a more accurate and bigger view. Other apps. There are other apps that track BLE. One that concentrates on Apple AirTags, iPhones, and tile trackers is AirGuard, also from F-Droid. After using this, I find that it filters too much information and limits itself to displaying Apple products mostly. So you will likely miss things with this if you're trying to go on digital offense. There are other products on Google Play Store if you search for BLE Radar or Aurora Store, and many of them are paid and have prettier interfaces. Some have a sensor that allows you to search for them by showing if the signal is getting stronger or weaker. But as far as raw data is concerned, BLE Radar has the most comprehensive data, though a little clunky to use and not the prettiest UI. Summary. After using this for a while and getting used to watching patterns and looking only at items with distances and filtering out house appliances, you really get a sense of the movements of people and devices around you. If you're concerned about this being used against you, reconsider your use of iPhones and store your headphones and wireless earphones when moving around. Try this app so you can get a sense of how vulnerable you are, and you can start managing your radio emissions profile. Folks, thank you for watching my videos. As many of you know, this channel does not have sponsors, and we primarily sustain ourselves by just creating products and services that we use to defend our privacy posture. I'd like to invite you to visit our community site, BraxMe, which has a growing community of privacy enthusiasts. There are people from various walks of life and beliefs converging together in the mutual support of privacy issues. We have a store there with products ranging from the Brax virtual phone service, BraxMail, Bytes VPN, and other services. All these tools are used by the privacy aware, and you can even talk to the actual users of the products directly. Join us, we'd love to have you there, and you don't even have to identify yourself to be part of the community. The very successful Brax 3 phone is also available for pre-order on its second batch. The first batch has been sold out. Information about that is on braxtech.net. Thanks also to those who donate to us on Patreon, Locals, and YouTube memberships.